Here's something that might surprise you. In the early Christian church, there was a group so controversial that Jesus himself said he hated their practices. And their story reveals a fascinating pattern about compromise that's still relevant today.
That's quite a strong statement coming from Jesus. What made this group so problematic?
Well, they were called the Nicolaitans, and their name literally means those who conquer the people. The fascinating part is that they traced back to Nicholas of Antioch, who started as one of the first 7 deacons of the church.
So how does someone go from being a church leader to founding a movement Jesus condemned?
That's where it gets interesting. Nicholas had quite a unique background. He went from paganism to Judaism to Christianity, and apparently that journey led him to develop this doctrine suggesting Christians didn't need to fully separate from pagan practices.
You know what that reminds me of? How people today try to maintain different personas for different situations.
Exactly right. And that's what made their teaching so dangerous. In cities like Ephesus and Pergamos, where paganism was deeply woven into daily life, this idea of religious compromise was particularly seductive.
So what exactly were they teaching that was so problematic?
They essentially promoted a have your cake and eat it too approach to faith. The early church historians Irenaeus and Hippolytus recorded that they taught believers could participate in pagan practices while still claiming to follow Christ, similar to how Balaam convinced the Israelites to compromise with Moabite customs.
That's making me think about modern parallels. How do you see this playing out in today's world?
Think about social media personas versus real life, or how people compartmentalize their faith from their professional lives. The fundamental issue remains the same, trying to maintain different standards in different contexts rather than living with integrity.
Well, that's quite challenging when you consider how interconnected everything is today.
And that's precisely why this ancient story still resonates. Whether it's 1st century Ephesus or modern society, the core challenge remains: how to engage with the world without compromising core values.
So what ultimately happened to these Nicolaitans and their teaching?
The historical record shows their approach led to what you might call a spiritually anemic Christianity, one that had the form of faith but none of its power. It's particularly striking when you compare Nicholas's path with his fellow deacons. Stephen became the first martyr. Philip became a powerful evangelist.
That really highlights how small compromises can lead to dramatically different outcomes.
Exactly. And I think that's why Jesus used such strong language. He understood that this kind of compromise acts like a spiritual cancer, gradually weakening and destroying authentic faith from within.
So, what's the key takeaway for people trying to navigate these challenges today?
Well, it's not about complete withdrawal from the world. That's not the answer. Instead, it's about maintaining clear boundaries while actively engaging with culture. The Nicolaitan story shows us that trying to blur those lines ultimately leads to losing both our influence and our identity.
That's quite profound. It's really about authenticity rather than isolation.
Right. And that's the enduring lesson here. Whether we're talking about ancient Ephesus or modern life, the challenge remains the same: how to maintain distinct values while meaningfully engaging with the world around us.